Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.
Thank you for joining us for another conversation here on Manhood. It's always a pleasure to be here to have that discussion with you and hopefully change your perspective on a few of the things and topics that are brought up, if not all the topics that are brought up, because it's really important that we reflect and make a change in our lives, because the reason this show has even come about is because we need to address us men and how we show up sometimes. And today's topic is no different. The topic specifically is Man-Tings. And what is Man-Tings when you hear it? It is a Man-Ting. Like what is that? What do we understand by that? And to have that conversation here today, really happy to have Caston Cupid, sports journalist, Calypsonian, an all-around good egg, as they say. Andrew Lewis, a longtime friend. Andrew presently is a coach for the Canadian team, but he's a three-time Olympian and has done us proud on so many levels and is the epitome of what it means to be a sportsman. So really happy that you could join us here, Andrew. And Niall needs no introduction. Niall McNish, media personality, producer, and a couple other things, as you would see by the end of this conversation. Put your labels, place it where you will. So let's get straight into it.
All right.
What is Man-Tings? When we speak about it, there's a Man-Ting is driving a truck, or a Man-Ting is sport, or a Man-Ting is smoking at one point. Whatever it is, muscularity. All these things are considered Man-Tings. But what do we understand or take away when somebody says that's a Man-Ting?
Well, it sounds like general rules to me. Like what we would consider general rules to be generally in a household. So Man-Ting won't be washing the dishes. At least that's my interpretation. Now, I go in real old school with it.
Please recognize that was Niall's interpretation. Right? Niall's interpretation.
Guys.
Now, I always say that, we are not speaking on behalf of all men. We are just a few men speaking to all men. In this case, Niall is speaking for himself.
I'm just saying that traditionally, that would have been something that would have been the line drawn in the sand, something simple like that, based on gender rules in the household. Isn't that like a thing? Taking out the garbage isn't like the man thing to do in the household? Why?
I think growing up as a boy, you always know that, all right, the girls, they take care of the house. They might learn to cook. They do the washing, they do the cleaning inside the house. But the boys do the, go out in the yard, cut the yard, scrub the yard, do the outside things, take out the garbage, That is what we was brought up in that manner.
Right.
That is Man-Ting, or even, we don't want to go too deep too soon, but now you can't cry, it's a girl, even crying.
You see, right?
Crying
it's
is
not
a man thing.
Man
That is
thing.
not a man thing.
So, Andrew, you gonna dig even deeper in that hole, or you gonna try and pull out somehow?
Well, I'll first of all say that a very manly thing and a man thing in this instance is to be able to come on a show and be able to speak about this.
Facts.
I think that is a very important thing that is highly shied upon and very many people are scared of and politically correct, etc., etc. But as everyone has shared so far, it comes from a place of your history, how you grew up, where you grew up, and how you continued to grow up is what will be defining those things. So, the interesting thing to me is the evolution. And I know we're going to dive into that a lot because I have been able to travel the world and see what in Trinidad and Tobago is a Man-Ting and what in Australia, in Singapore, in different parts of the world, how these different cultures come together, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, they do that there, oh they do this here, and why can't we do that there, etc., etc. I'll dive into that, but one thing I think is definitely a true Man-Ting is the ability to recognize that nobody, a true Man-Ting, no one should be hitting one another, especially a man laying a hand on a woman. The only hand you should ever lay on a woman is a helping hand. And that is one of the important things that I will be getting through in this segment today.
Okay. I have some, I wouldn't call it a rebuttal, but I have some caveats.
Right.
Right. So you're in a situation as a man, and like I weigh 160 pounds. I am now, in an altercation with
Correct.
a woman who's 160 pounds.
Correct.
Right. And she is clearly winning the altercation because as a man, I can't return any retaliation. Right.
Correct.
At what point does it now become abuse on the man's side, right? Or at what point is it okay for a man to say I'm
Correct.
defending myself in a situation
From
like
the
that?
start. From as soon as someone lays a hand on you,
I can retaliate.
no, I'm not saying retaliate, but at that point in time, it is a problem. It is that you are being abused also. So, of course, it takes two to tango. And because I say certain things, because Man-Ting is there's a more prominent thing happening out in the world of a much higher percentage of men abusing women and women abusing men.
Yeah.
And I'm talking again, that's from the world I have grew up in. If you are being abused physically, verbally, whatever it is, how it is, it's still abuse. And that does not mean that you stand up for yourself. And that is a very important point also, that at what point in time do you defend yourself and how? And sometimes people say, well, first of all, what you're doing there, because you're possibly with the wrong person from the start, and you should see your signs early, but then again, that's experience.
Correct. And I want to say 80% of the population
So-
is always be with the wrong person to begin with.
And we spoke about that in another conversation where we spoke about man up. And one of the things was that the men on the panel we were having that discussion. They were saying that if something happens and someone says man up and they're making you feel a particular way, making you feel insecure about yourselves, because most of the time we know our own insecurities. But if someone is saying it in a negative way, like man up, and that's their basis for what a man is, and that basis is incorrect or what is outlined or understood as a general what it takes to be a man, and being a man is being a good man, not a bad man. In that perspective, you should just walk away from those friends. Now, as I would say, that's all well and good. It sounds utopian, it sounds logical, but
great.
the reality is we don't always just walk away from things. I mean, how many people in jobs that they love? And you always hear someone who says, listen, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's
So
true.
therefore, if you're still calling it a job, then how much are you loving it? But I'm saying all that to say that when we talk about abuse and walking away, it's easier said than done.
Facts.
And the fact that in a circumstance at the moment, if you are being abused, because I think it's 1 in 3 in Trinidad and Tobago, and the highest stats show that the highest suicide rate is men.
That is
because
true.
men receive it and they don't say anything about it. But just on your specific point about an altercation, right? I've been in a scenario like that. Woman slapping me up because she think I'm texting somebody or doing something back in the day, and you brace, you move away. As a friend of mine once said, even in a fight of if you have a firearm or a cutlass or whatever, your aim is to survive the fight, not to win it. You don't win a fight. So therefore, in a situation where if it's fisticuffs and a woman is slapping you, move away, pal, if you could, or put up your hand, because even at 160 pounds, chances are, unless she's a Muay Thai fighter
Master,
or something,
right?
or something like that, you're still stronger than her. So in your presence, you can hold her, you can pin her down, you can put your hand up, or you can
All those things are
Mash gas.
are considered hitting one woman, right?
Yeah.
When you hold a woman, the minute that you restrain, you're immediately in hit mode.
I disagree.
basically.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Tell them, Andrew.
Well, okay, we could disagree, right? Which is
Correct.
okay.
Okay.
However, we all know how easy it is
Correct.
when an altercation happens and
Emotions.
only
very-
2 people were in the space at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
And you may have just held her or just restrained. And then, based on how the story is being told, it immediately could easily get
yeah.
very wild for the guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I say the minute that you put your hands on a woman, you immediately go into the space of you are in the wrong
Yeah.
based on the
Yeah.
societal construct that we have.
Correct.
Now, for me, is why is it that some women live in a space of delusion that they could fight with a man who is twice their size? Because as a man, what is that?
Emotion.
I can't accept that, because let me tell you why. as a man thing to do, I'm not going to get into a fight that I can't win. Men, I am not
Correct.
going to, you are twice my size. No matter how mad I get, I am not going to run into you.
They
just
always
so.
say men are more logical. Women are more emotional in certain cases. Please, in certain cases.
Of course,
right?
we talking
and
generally.
and therefore, but I want to come to a specific point because I don't want to move too much into domestic violence because we've spoken a lot about it.
We
It's
have.
all an understand that's how the show sort of was created in the first place, to reach out to men and to women to avoid such altercations and men going forward and even killing one another as a result of emotion and misled judgment, misled emotion and behaviors. I want to say that in the instance of interpretation, there's an old saying, it is better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
Okay,
right?
yeah, I agree with that.
So if in this case, it is better at that point than if a woman's coming to you with a knife or a pot or something like that to restrain as best as possible to avoid something going further
right.
for both yourself in injury or your reaction to say, you get stabbed, you're now going to go into survival mode and heaven knows what you're going to do, right? And in the same way, for her as well, to say, let's tell the story, accurately or whatever the case may be, after the fact. But at that point is what we're referring to. What is the best, Andrew, as we were speaking about, what is the best thing to do? And it's certainly not to hit
No,
them off.
definitely not.
Definitely
But think of it like a child, right? If a child does something wrong, you discipline him. A lot of us as Trinidadians will discipline with a little bit of force, right? I think that's like the standard in Trinidad, right? But you not as an adult.
I don't know. I'm gonna disagree with that
Stop.
because I have a 7-year-old
Right.
and I have never once laid a hand on him.
Did you ever have to?
He's my child. He's wild. So there are many instances that my thing is like the old people say, I brought you into this world.
I could take you out,
I
right?
could take you out, but I believe that me sitting him down and having a conversation, a discussion about what he did, makes the change. Like I think rather than embarrassing or a hit, because all he's going to remember is that act, and then when what he does or doesn't do is then from a position of fear, as opposed to a position of understanding. Right? And the other thing is, they say sometimes a good grip, a good grip on a child, like back in the day, I get a pinch and so on, but a good grip on, hey, with this
Sturdy hand.
with this thunder boom voice, that in itself is, you make him realize that, hey, you know what? Let me come back to reality. Let me come down from whatever
Right.
cloud I'm there floating on with regards to what I'm doing and understand.
But that's still fair though. That's still, and again, and I want to make sure I'm bringing all the guys
Yeah.
in the conversation. But it's still you're using fear or you're using your dominance as a man in that situation to discipline your child. So what I'm saying is that you are not as a man going to apply all the fear and pressure that you could put on to a child because you would feather based on how much trouble the child gave, right? So my thinking is, if when you're applying that to a woman, is discipline, right? And I'm saying that in a weird way, right? Let me try to restructure that.
Yeah, please do.
I
Please do,
don't want
because I want to
no,
bring
no,
the
no,
other guys
because
to.
no,
We
no,
also need to
listen.
go to a break, but
right? Someone does something wrong, you don't want them to do it.
I mean, they need to know that it's not okay. I'm not okay.
That is called discipline.
Yeah.
That is what the actual framework of that is being called. If it is someone now, that same person is now an adult, my age, it is still disciplining.
But you're bringing up discipline, and you're making the correlation to fear, like you said with my son. But it's not fear is different in terms of also understanding the consequence of your choices,
Okay.
right? So me speaking to him is not necessarily fear because there's no consequence in his mind as to what's going to come after that because he's never gotten hit. So what is he in fear of?
And
So-
as I said that, not to cut you, but
No, but please do.
as I say that, as he doesn't know the consequences, right? So do you think that you should give him a good schooling so he know what the consequences are? Because
But the consequence of choice casting is what
Right.
I'm saying. So what he has is he knows if I do this, this is going to happen. It's either no YouTube, daddy's going to be upset, those types of things, and because of the relationship that we have, they are strong enough for him to make a determination. I don't want to do that. I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to not get certain things. And that's what I'm saying. There's an understanding of disappointment or consequence in action as opposed to fear, because fear is that some sort of physical
retribution
is going to occur. Am I?
I agree 100%. I am a very conscious parent and never lay any hands on in my children or my daughter. So the idea is communication. The idea is the ability to understand that they are extremely intelligent human beings from birth, and that while they are communicating on a different level as they grow up, they're extremely smart enough to, you have to understand how they communicate. So you put physical, you create fear. And you create a fear-based human being, and the more fear-based human being is the more fight or flight you create of a human being. The more fight or flight is the more retaliation you will create in the long term. So if you come back to more of a place, and a lot of this is the inception of bad behavior. You beat a child into a certain place, you will beat them into a person that they will think it's okay to beat other people. From the time you lay a hand on someone that's 6, 7 years old, or whatever the age is, as early as they can remember, it is showing them that it's okay to lay a hand on someone else.
And
I would agree with that.
We need to go to a break, but also just to touch on that, just say that what you're also doing is, because they're supremely intelligent, what you're also doing is you're creating adjustment. So in that case, they're just going to adjust to, okay, this is what happens at that particular point, or in fair view, and they become either more solid in their determination later on, and they become harder persons. And you want to know why is it we can't get to a person? Because in their mindset, they're becoming more and more, the walls are going up, and they adjust in order to survive, because that's what we ultimately do. And even in those situations, we find ways to survive. But I want us to go to a break, because this is all good conversation, all rich conversation, as a friend once said. But we need to come back to Man-Tings.
Man-Tings.
What is Man-Tings? So please stay with us. This is Manhood. Thank you for staying with us. This is Manhood. Caston, Andrew, Niall, having the conversation here today. We're talking about what is Man-Tings, and we spoke about domestic violence, we spoke about interaction with children, we spoke about a lot of things that are good topics and a good conversation as well, that all comes into what is considered a manly thing. But we want to get a little bit more specific now. We want to go back into when people say that's a man thing, like doing sports, and somehow women shouldn't do certain sports. So we say, when we now see women driving a truck or wearing certain clothes, you see women wearing tuxedos and things now, and they say that is a manly thing. I want us to get into what our thoughts are on that. And we shared a couple things during the break, and I want to take it from the break into the recording, into the public eye, to have a discussion.
I feel now like a girl in a tuxedo. I feel any vibe.
I actually find as the flyers thing, which don't start to have me kind of weird, because I don't see it. As you say, I really like to see a girl driving a truck.
Agreed.
I really like to see that now.
Right.
If
Nobody's saying it's a negative.
No, but wait. If that is our manly thing, what going on with my mental? Like, am I supposed to think about, you understand what I'm saying? I'm not starting to have existential crisis right now.
What we're saying is, and I'm glad you brought it up, we're not saying it's a negative thing. Because like you, I quite like to see a woman in a tuxedo when you see them in the,
just roughing
and a truck,
Right.
Women playing sport. I've
Construction.
Women
I've never seen that as yet, by the way.
What do you mean?
You ever see one total big bucket of
never
cement?
seen that.
Yes, I have
Serious.
friends who have contractors. They do construction. They mix concrete,
Mixing concrete.
mortar.
Cut.
They're putting up tiles,
Leveling and cement.
everything, and they're doing pretty good work.
That's
so
vibes.
Why are we talking about man things? Are man things becoming extinct?
Technically, yes.
Because we come in a all-inclusive world. In so many things that we deemed or we thought that were manly things, they are No, women can do it. It's okay for women to do it in a
I
positive way. And some things that we think are manly things in a negative light, well, they're not so manly anymore because
So, Castellan, we now saying then, so can we identify, is there anything then that is a man thing? Or is it just what used to be only for men? And now it's an incorporation in all under equality and that women could do anything. Is there
think
anything
so.
that we now say is, that is a, when we use the word man thing, it's no longer,
I think the world that we're evolving into, there's no such thing as woman thing and man thing.
I agree.
You understand? This is my thing. This is what I can do. This is what I like to do. Whether no matter my gender. You know what I mean? So manly thing could become archaic. You know what I mean?
Well, it should
It should.
become archaic.
You know,
That's how I
because,
look
women,
at it.
women, we say it's a level playing field, equal pay, equal everything. You know, but
No,
Although that's not the case. Although that's not happening.
Hold on, let me adjust the mic here. Let me just clarify my thoughts on that. I've done it in a couple conversations. I'm glad my brother Andrew is here as well. Because we could talk about a unisex Olympics, right?
Oh gosh, how are you doing that?
But again, we need to bring it down to the understanding of why certain things are. It just is.
Right.
Right? So if you have a 100 meter and you have Shari Richardson,
yeah.
Sha'Carri Richardson running with Usain Bolt.
First of all, nobody can run with
But
you.
I'm just trying to put it into context.
Gotcha.
Right? Or even the third, fourth, fifth runner in the 100 meter men. Because remember, most of the top runners are hitting 9.7, 9.8, well, not 9.7, but 9.8, 9.9, all 10 seconds and under.
Sub 10.
Right? Sub 10. Right? The women, the fastest woman, which is Flojo, right? Florence Griffith Joyner, right?
Yeah.
Right? They're hitting 10.62
no,
or
10.60 something. Is
right.
the record, I
So
think.
you understand there that even the slowest man in the 100 meter is the faster than the woman's time.
Gotcha.
So we have to look at in those arguments it would be unfair. But yet still when you have a man now looking to enter in a women's race because they are below average and cleaning up, right? It's a problem. I'm just saying there's a reason. Physically, there's a reason for that. I want to just talk before we come into it because I know Andre want to see, in his days of sailing and, somebody pulling up in the laser there and there's a woman there because also you might get distracted,
You don't look like a man like get distracted easy.
But let's look at football. So women want equal play. Now I love to watch you
Equal pay.
Equal pay.
right? For equal play, right? So I am saying that so the US women's team really got me watching football, as in women's football. I watched the last World Cup and the World Cup before that, and really good football. But when you hear people, mainly women, asking for equal pay in the sport, we're not talking about job like lawyer for lawyer, doctor for doctor. We're talking about sport here. And you ask for equal pay. Are the stadiums as full as to when a man's playing? If not, where's the money coming from? Because the money, like with the NBA, into the WNBA, the stands are empty. And you ask yourself, in the men's soccer, football, and in the NBA and all these other sports, the stands are full with women and men who are supporting that. So therefore, if you want that, then equally where the money, where the revenue is coming from, why aren't women supporting it? Why are women not filling the stadiums or filling the courts in WNBA? Or if you want equal pay, if it's
I understand, I get your point, but what I also think, my personal perception is that the big corporations, they're not pushing the women's game. Let us draw the example. Okay, right now we are seeing a deliberate push on EPL. Like go league for league. You're seeing they're pushing EPL, they're not pushing Bundesliga. They're not pushing La Liga as much. Just like how they're pushing NBA, they're not really pushing WNBA. So is the investment behind the men's game equal to the investment behind the women's game?
No.
Because it's not. It is
But
not.
the why, ask corporate, and Andrew, I know you have a lot of insights into this, as to corporate is going to go behind something that they know they're going to get bang for their buck or return.
Correct.
And if they themselves know that women and the supporters aren't behind it, what is the point putting Chase or a Coca-Cola or something behind it when you're not going to get the turnout? They themselves have done their own research.
What if the lack of support is coming from the men? The women coming out.
But I think
In the males games, the women and men coming out because the men are there.
But do you see that WNBA game?
I haven't. I haven't. But that mightn't be my sport. But I have seen the women's soccer and they are phenomenal, way better than in class for class.
Oh gosh.
Than the men's soccer team.
Andrew, talk.
Men-
Save him there.
Well, I
I
don't
like
have,
the women's soccer team.
I mean,
US?
the idea is, so sailing took a president and said that they were going to become the first ever Olympic sport at 50-50. There are 300 athletes that get to go to Olympic Games in sailing, 150 men, 150 women.
Vibes.
Do women and men race against each other? No. Is there a mixed class where there's a man and a woman on the boat racing against other mixed boats? Yes. So there are no sailing classes where there are one woman in a boat and one man in a boat racing each other. No, it's all balanced out where it works. And this was a great example of this. So why? The question is why, and I'll get to the answer very quickly. It's because the agenda is not being pushed behind for the marketing. So you have to find a marketable athlete or team, and you have to push that so corporate could get behind that and sell tickets in the stands. But if I'm running a league of any sort that's doing really well, I'm not going to change the math. I'm actually going to build bigger stadiums. I'm actually going to keep what I have and amplify that until it's no longer growth oriented. So why is it that we're not having these things? It's because there is no push from people who have a lot of control. And there is so much sport being played right now. It's like you need to have these I would say people, but in theory it's a US soccer team, female, that came up with this whole push to have equal pay. You have to have these conversation starters, which in theory is the beginning of these kind of things. And to touch on what you said, and both of you all said, I would say, is that it's evolving. What men do, women are getting very close to being and doing, if not doing already, and vice versa. So in the end of the day, you're going to see a higher increase of women in everything. And the term of Man-Tings is realistically on the way out. But at the same thing, I think the most important thing is of this whole term, this whole discussion, is to embrace who you were born as. That's what I like about it. I think it was one of the most manly things. Is I personally, I'm born a man, and I am going to stay a man for the rest of my life, and I love that and respect that, and that's a God-given gift that I have been put in these shoes to live. And the strength that I have, where my wife doesn't have that strength, I will fall in there. Where she has that strength, she will come in there. And that's the world of where Man-Tings is today, you know. It's not smoking a cigarette and riding a horse, or necessarily
Playing a guitar, singing a
How
song.
about someone popped into my mind? I just said that, right? It's just like, okay.
But
it looks very manly.
It looks very manly, and again, these are archaic, stereotypes that we would do, and of course, even women may replicate certain things now because they may want to take on more of a masculine role. They are, and that's where toxic masculinity, another term that was coined, comes about. But I just want to clarify that I'm not saying women don't deserve equal pay. I mean, equal pay across the board, but I know I specifically spoke about sport. What I'm talking about is the why behind it.
Gotcha.
So if those things are looked at and the stadiums are full, or the stadia is full, the courts are full, and the corporate comes on board, then by all means. But at the moment, until that is addressed for whatever reason, it will not be justifiable to say, let me give you 100 million a year as well, because out of what coffers is that coming from?
Well, my question is then why in corp? I understand sports, and we know for whatever reason why.
Where great place you're going.
But
Go where you're going. Great place. I was gonna go right there.
Why in corporate it's still happening? That's what I was gonna ask. Like if that's I understand sport, but it's still happening in reality,
But
right?
Is it that, okay, corporate, probably in some cases, they want to, but your target market just not taking it.
I'm sorry.
No.
In
What? No,
corporate?
Caston. Let me
I'm
help.
sorry.
Let me
Sorry.
Yes,
let
you can control the narrative, eh?
let me save Caston here. I think when you said corporate, because we had brought up corporate in sport, right? I think you are still thinking that we're there. I think when he refers to sport, corporate, I think we're now going outside of sport into a director,
Actual
a lawyer,
corporate.
a doctor, actual corporate on the table. Why is it that Castor and Cupid may get paid X and another female journalist, because she's a female, does not get equal pay?
Or more.
Correct.
Sometimes, ladies, it's more. Let's be
Supposed to be.
Let's be
To
real.
be clear, I was talking about sports.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
That's
right,
what
right.
That's why I'm jumping in to
Yeah,
save
yeah,
it, you know.
Yeah.
But I love the convo that we're now addressing, the fact that what we are saying, are we all in agreement that what we're saying that when we say manly things, it's an archaic stereotype.
Absolutely.
It's something that's no longer a manly thing. Someone says, like we spoke about man up or be a man. Manly things are no longer. But I want. We need to go to a break, right?
So,
but in our final segment, I want us to talk a bit more about that, because I'm still not 100% in agreement that there's still not certain things that are manly.
I want to talk about the transition.
Transition.
The transition,
Yeah.
how it is today.
And in the break, we should think about across the board. Are we okay with manly things being archaic in every aspect?
I'm
good
glad
question.
we now opening up. I'm glad we now open up and
we
being
evolving,
real.
but is that the road we want to go down?
Correct.
Where there are no such things a man could coin and say this is a manly thing.
Correct. Are we losing
Just a
our
conversation.
identity? And let's be real. But we need to take a break. And don't worry, what we talk about outside the break, we bring up in the segment. Don't
Don't
worry.
feel you missing out. Don't feel you missing
Don't
out.
feel you missing out. So this is Manhood. We're taking a short
Be right back.
Hey, welcome back to Manhood. We're having a discussion about man-tings. And as we was discussing just before the break, we be saying that man-things are coming obsolete. But are we okay with that
Really good question.
in every aspect of life? Andrew, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm all about evolution.
Matthew, Andrew, I'm calling you out on that, man.
I actually agree
I
with
think you're being too correct here.
I actually agreeing with him.
Are we okay with lose? So,
What do you mean losing? What do you
because-
mean losing? What you losing? Your foot?
How are you less of a man?
Your God-given
Shrinking,
area?
shrinking.
I'm not saying that women. I believe 100% in equality. What I'm saying to you is, I was speaking to my aunt the other day as I was sharing with you guys in the break. I promise you that we won't keep anything from you. And she's 80-something years old. And my cousin asked her, what is her secret to longevity? Like being so at 80-something years old, still moving around, looking the way she did, almost like her age is reversing. And one of the things that she said was your friend circle. About her girls' night, hear me well, her girls' night out is what keeps her going. That every day she picks up one of her girls and they do something and then they all come together and they talk about different things that are happening. We need our space. You need a space. So I'm not saying a space away from a woman, because sometimes when you tell your significant other you're not going on a boys' night out, sometimes they feel that, oh, you need to talk about something you can't talk with me. It's not about that.
Yes.
It's about, well,
Yes.
sometimes it is, yeah? But you need that space. Men, that's why you have gentlemen's clubs. And I'm not talking about the ones where strippers and turn up. I'm talking about where men go and where they smoke a cigar, have a brandy, have a cognac, whatever you do in that particular point. Andrew, you and I...
But that's what I'm saying. The evolution is not about losing. It's not about losing your friend circles and nights out with the boys or football.
So it's still Man-Ting.
But at the end of the day, me going to play football, me going out to be with the boys, that is not the evolution. That is a place I go, and that is my space.
But it's still Man-Tings, is what we're saying.
Sure. You could call it man things, but at the same time,
women could do it too, so it's a woman thing as well.
correct. So the same way your aunt.
Yeah.
Your aunt has her space where she goes and socializes with her friends. We all have to have our spaces. And no matter the evolution, however far that goes. For example, part of my man things is I go surfing by myself, catch waves, connect with nature, ride a wave. That's my space. There's no one out there harassing me, no nothing. I'm just having an amazing time connecting with nature, shredding some water, come back and boom, reset, ready to go again. So the evolution I'm speaking about has nothing to do with losing these important places in your life or your masculinity. These things I'm talking about is becoming a better listener. Coming out of your shoes and standing in your child's shoes or a woman's shoes or someone else understanding to connect. And for example, you go to get a new job and your bosses see you understanding that is okay. That actually might be even better for you. Remove the specimen and understand the message. That is a real manhood vibe. Someone who could understand that human beings, man or woman, can have the most powerful impact on you once you could remove the individual as what they are born as and understand the message and the creation that is in front of you.
Absolutely agree.
So, sounds good. That's all a good message. But I'm still coming back to the evolution, equality, all of these things. In the evolution of what was Man-Tings in terms of the stereotypes before were what we not in reflection. We can look at our behaviors. We can look at where only men had a seat at the table of as a board of directors. All those behaviors. I would like to think that men, even though you're looking to safeguard your space, even though you might know that, hey, this is wrong, are you going to come out now and admit certain things because that means you giving up a seat at maybe that CEO table?
That's what a real man is.
And agreed. But how many people are willing and ready to be real men?
Not many.
And so if you're going to course correct these things, that is all part of our evolution because we do. We need to make it right. We need to make it right with women for years upon years, decades upon decades, of oppression. And it's still going on in this world, and we still, they say when good men do nothing, that's what is the real crime. And we are standing by, in the world and watching the oppression in so many other countries of women up to this day who can't even go to school. So I'm not talking about the fact that in evolution, in that perspective, it needs to change. It must change. We can't call ourselves human if we continue to accept that. What I'm talking about is in another level of evolution is that there still must be a manly thing that makes us say, hey, this is only what a man does. So you might have seen a little cut there at some point, the fire alarm went off, so we had to do,
Manly thing.
the manly thing and vacate. So, so we want to come back to that some may consider a diatribe. That I was really kind of speaking about to ask, because I'm asking the question. A lot of when we sit down here, it's not that this is my opinion. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just Niall's opinion. That we speak about here because we want to meet people where they're at, and we want to ask the question because somebody might be shouting behind the camera or on the TV screen going, yeah, but what about this scenario? So we're here to address those points. It's not always whether we believe in something or not. We're having that discussion, and to Caston's point, what is it, if anything, is still a manly thing that defines us that only we can do? Or should do. There must be something, and it goes for females as well. So I'm trying to get, I want us all to have that conversation, but I particularly want to get Andrew out of the correctness in that chair. I want to call him. I want to call him.
So I'll tell you. I will tell you one of the most manly things I used to think that I was searching for in a woman, and what I believe was supposed to be there. So I would say 16, 17 years old, one of the things I thought that had to be in my life, whether it's the future girlfriend, wife, etc., was that person had to be waking up and cook big spread of breakfast early morning, so when I'm ready to go outside for training, big spread there. What?
Yeah, that's madness.
I can't believe I used to think like that.
Correct.
I can't believe I used to think like that. But I understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
You look at it as a sportsman dreaming and believing in something. They have buffet and cook for the athletes. People interviewed my wife sacrificed this. Then I used to go fishing with a guy from down in south, and his wife wake up, pack a Styrotex cooler, sada, aloe, the works. And we left at 4 a.m. to go fishing. So that means she's probably cooking like.
Yeah.
have
2
to-
a.m.
So I'm
or
like, well, I
something.
want that too. But you can't, that is not what you search for in a human being.
No.
That is a very manly thing in those days. That is a
Misogynistic way.
completely off. And I mean, that's me opening up, but
Yeah.
I
No,
think-
but you're coming back to, again, guys, and I don't want to wrap until I get it, right? In terms of, is there such a thing as now a manly thing?
I
There
think
must
so.
be.
I think yeah, I've been searching throughout the episode, and I think what is still and should be a manly thing, all right, not so much the provider, because women can provide, even though they say the man should provide, and depending on your religion, it could go different ways. But I think what a man should do within a household is, no matter what, be the protector.
Amen. I get in somewhere.
Okay.
all right,
Get in
ready for you,
somewhere.
ready for
That
you.
is a manly thing.
I agree 100%. And there's one other thing that a man cannot do. And a very manly thing is to respect and understand that men can't make children. The male human being is not designed to reproduce.
Facts.
And a real manly thing is to understand.
Don't even go there.
Do you even go there?
No. I'm saying I'm actually helping.
Oh, right.
A real manly thing is don't even go there and think
Correct.
about getting pregnant.
I
Correct.
think you was gonna
That's-
say be that support system.
Well, no, I was going to say a real manly thing is to understand that that's not for you.
For you.
It's not yours. You're born a certain way and you are not created to be able to do that. Leave it alone.
Well, what? No, to go to your podcast.
You want- he was
That's a
digging,
womanly
he was
thing.
digging, so
That's a woman.
that's a
correct,
woman
so
thing.
A woman could say,
So-
leave that alone, men. That's a womanly thing. So in the same way, that is something that we need to understand is a womanly thing. There are other things that are just there,
No.
sacred to. There's a manly thing that
Should
men
be.
could say, hey, that-
It should be because there are some men of the world that will dispute that, and they will use
Fact.
science to try to say, well, why a woman alone should be able to be
sure, yeah, you're going to have that.
I mean,
let's start with biology.
Yeah, it
Let's
does.
start there.
But there are people, not me, probably not yours.
so
but
let's break down what an actual man could do, right? Men are physically stronger than women. That's a fact. Generally,
we-
we
we
go
were
in
able to
with
restrain him for a
generalization.
bit, right?
We go with generalization, right?
On average, yeah.
On average,
Yeah,
most men,
the most weight ever lifted has been a man.
right? So technically, in a household, generalizationally speaking, is that the man should be the protector, which makes sense, right?
On
After
on
that-
average.
On average.
Because
On
have
average,
have some men who have some karate women there. That,
No, and so at the end of the day, we know that for a fact, men should be the person being the one. If noise in the night, you hear
you
something,
gotta get up as a man.
use the man to have to
Yeah,
get
like
up and go and check it out. You're stronger than a girl. Yeah,
until Kill Bill around.
Huh?
Until Kill Bill around.
I mean, very, very niche. By the way, ladies, I'm all about equality. I am one to be at home and being taken care of because
You're looking for Kill Bill.
I'm looking for Kill Bill. If someone willing to take care of me and I'll be a house husband and something go bump in the night and we the same weight and you are a defense force
Yeah, because
master,
It's no longer considered to be a manly thing to go out
I
and
want to be better clutch my pearls and be like, honey, go check it out for me,
I
please.
think even in that instance, as a man, you still need to go and do it. And if you need backup, you know your
I
backup
don't
strong.
understand that. If it is we talking about equality, which is what we're talking about, why is it as a man we're not supposed to have that? Because it's supposed to be applied across the board.
No, we're not specifically talking about equality. We were referring to
Agreed,
what is
agreed.
a manly thing. You going off on a tangent
manly
now.
thing.
But
You are the girls.
I'm glad you got the point out because part
You
of
are the
manhood
girls.
is never one specific thing that we talk about. It's all intertwined. It's all interconnected, and therefore, from domestic violence, as we mentioned it, and this I would like to say would be my summary because we need to summarize now and close this segment. So I could get things kicking off. In that summary of things, we spoke about, domestic violence. We spoke about being a protector. We spoke about how we interact with children. all of these different things, they're all really, really good topics. And come to what really our understanding is fundamentally of what it is to be a man. And that is where, again, we talk about as a basis. Before you can take anything, in order to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from, right? If you don't know that, then what's your benchmark? So to me, I would still, and I think I have some clarification or further clarification, not really what is still a man thing, but I have a better understanding, thank you brothers, as to what that is for you and what is that perception to a manly thing. Now for me, and Caston, you clarified one being a protector. For me, the manly thing, and if there is still manly things to do, because of course we're not talking about the archaic stereotypes, that needs to be canned. We're not talking about that. We're bringing up equality. We're bringing up, certain behaviors that are, and you, Andrew, and I hope that I'm going to come away from the summary, because I hope in your discussion or your summary, you mentioned at the start about what it takes to, what is considered a man in Trinidad versus what you've experienced other people saying in the globe. And I think your experience and that salvo is very important, that I'm sure the viewers would love to hear about, because it's different, and what is the common thread that we understand as being a man. So I would close for me by saying that a man thing is also to be a leader, and a man thing which is specific to us is to ensure equality. That is the man thing. That is the one thing that we can do as men, is to ensure that equality. And in that protection of women is to protect their rights. Our rights have been protected. Our rights have been indoctrinated. Our rights have been lived out, right? What is important as a man thing, if you want that understanding, and my understanding, and what I'm putting my foot down as an understanding of a man thing, is to protect a woman's right as well to equality.
Blessings.
I agree to that.
Yeah, I agree to that.
I agree
Nice
to that
man.
for sure.
That's big man thing.
Big man thing, eh?
That's big man.
All right, let me give my summary real quick, right? This is a man's will, right? Men.
I've just had a reason.
But it is. You know why? Because most men fight wars. Wars is how, most people dictate who's in charge. There's the reality. I'm going with what is life, right? And hence, the men make the rules. And to go to your point, Robert, is that stronger men won't take advantage of weaker men, right? And when I say men or man in this time, I'm actually saying humans, right? So, it is a man's will, unfortunately, and being in a space or being in a position to protect people is what a real man, I consider, should be. But I would leave with one question, which is, and just to touch back really quickly on the whole inequality in the pay gap, right? One quick question. Women generally get less than men. Why is it, as an entrepreneur, I just don't hire all women and pay everybody less and make more money? So guys, I'm here just to provoke people. So don't think too much of what I said. But I'll leave it with that.
My summary wouldn't be as long. I think my perception of man thing is knowing your strengths and weaknesses, knowing your partner's strengths and weaknesses, or just general human strengths and weaknesses, and not take advantage for or against.
Gotcha.
And man thing is being the knowledge to know when you're right, but you're being perceived to be wrong, to know, all right, step away from a situation. Being the bigger man is a man thing. That is a serious man thing. Being a bigger person, Put it as that.
Bigger person.
Being a bigger person. And in this evolving world that we live in, staying true to your core values in every light, that is big man thing. You know what I mean? So not to hit, not to take advantage, or all sorts of things. I think man thing is just being a good person. You know what I mean? Just be a good person, or at least strive to be a good person. And when you attain that good person status, be a better person.
I like it.
I like it too.
I like it.
When you reach
Andrew,
good person, be a better one. I love it.
take us away. Now, but I really wanted to touch as part of your summary on.
So I would start with Japan. If you look at Japan, you would find that there's a substantial equality in a lot of things that you see. You see easily a woman plumber, woman gardeners. A lot of things you'd see construction, a lot of things you'd see. There is a lot of male school teachers, female school teachers. There's a lot of balances. Even in the airport, woman lifting my bag onto the belt. A lot of things that were just a bit confusing. And it's because the way the Japanese culture is raised, very different from the Western world culture, which is, Western world culture, in my opinion, is we have plenty of guidelines here, and we show you how to grow up, and this is how we do things. Whereas Japanese style is, this is the world, these are the areas in which you could experience, and you choose how you want to experience the world in these areas. But this is how we do things, from the food to the culture, and it's very, very, a lot of oneness. But that doesn't take away from the things that we spoke about, that the male is the protector. Doesn't take away from the idea that we as men, have a role to play in this world. And whether that is in procreating, or whether that is in protecting, whether that is in supporting, or even being a father. It's a very important role to a daughter or a son. So my summary, or in closing, is that evolution is happening. There's no doubt about that. I think the world, from a manly point of view, is going into a much better place. It is becoming a lot more oneness, a lot more equality is being shown up. And I like that a lot. I'm all for that. And it's been a real pleasure to be, on this show with Niall, with Caston, with Robert. I think one of the things I would like to close in with saying is, I think one of the most manly things that have been done here is that Robert and the team at CN3 had the vision to put manhood together, to continue to help the male specimen evolve into a specimen that's allowing, by the end of this interview, I know now we'll have no more female staff. But other than him, the rest of us are going to be continuing to evolve, grow really well, and all about oneness. So as male and female continue to connect, the most important thing is manhood continues to evolve into a place where we as human beings can not only be wrong and strong, but strong and be more helpful and more equal. So blessings, love, and thank you very much to the whole team here. Fellas, respect.
That was beautiful.
Manly things forward, but at the same time, lovely things forever.
Manhood.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.